All right, what's going on? Welcome in, guys. Farzin Masuian here with you for another installment of the Red Friday live chat, and it is Red Friday. It's a special Red Friday if you're a Kingdom Swiftie, right? You guys are all enjoying her album, I'm sure. A lot of people are reacting to that. I have not heard. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm a Swiftie by way of Chiefs Kingdom. Not too familiar with their music. But yeah, I'm hearing a lot of people react to it. I got my 87 on for this, celebrating the occasion, but nonetheless, I know a lot of you guys have been enjoying, what is it called? Life of a Showgirl, I think. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are blasting that through their cars in the streets of Kansas City. With that said, a lot of things to get into here on this episode of the Red Friday Q&A live chat. If you guys have a question, anything on your mind, comment below and ask away whatever questions you have, comments, whatever you want to talk about. All topics are fair game. Drop them below. I do want to look at the offense to start things off here as the Chiefs do get ready for the Jaguars. And of course, we had our podcast last night. I gave you guys my score prediction, 23-20. I'm eager to see what the offense is going to look like against a more challenging defense. Listen, I told you guys because of the issues Baltimore's defense had going into that game, and they thought they were going to get some players back. That was not really the case. When I say they, I guess I'm talking from a public standpoint, not the organization itself. The offense really stepped up and played much better this year. And yeah, again, they were missing a lot of guys. I recognize that, said that many times. That's what you're supposed to do when a team is missing a bunch of players. Look what teams are doing to a team like the Bengals. They have literally no offense because they do not have a quarterback right now. That's what you're supposed to do to teams when they're missing players. Now, are injuries an excuse? Not really. Look at the 49ers last night. I don't think anybody gave the 49ers a chance in hell, and they won in overtime against the Rams. Got very interesting at the end of it there, especially at the end of regulation, but they won with Mac Jones. And who were their wide receivers? Kendrick Bourne and a bunch of former Chiefs players like MVS, Sky Moore, Demarcus Robinson. That's who they won with. So injuries are never an excuse. The Chiefs have battled through injury. They did it last year. They've also done it with two bad offensive tackles over the last few years. So it's all about a team's will and how much they're determined to come out on top in these games. So that's really what it comes down to sometimes. Yeah, skill is important, don't get me wrong, but the other part, the other factors are important as well. So come on in. I see a couple of you guys here. If you guys have any questions, comment below. I'll get to your guys' questions later on. The thing about Jacksonville's defense, they lead the league in interceptions, and I know they haven't played a lot of good teams this year. In fact, I don't think they've played, an offense that's really worth talking about, with the exception of the Bengals for 1.5 quarters, maybe. Because that's when Joe Burrow went down with that injury in the middle of the second quarter. So they really haven't played anyone, and that's fine. But you can only play who's on your schedule, and you never apologize for winning in the NFL. So my whole thing with the Chiefs, I still view Jacksonville as much better competition than the Baltimore Ravens, because the Ravens were just decimated with injuries, whereas Jacksonville, they've got the reigning AFC Defensive Player of the Week and AFC Defensive Player of the Month. Now the Chiefs also have the reigning AFC Offensive Player of the Week. So going to be interesting to see how that goes this week. The reigning AFC Offensive Player of the Week and AFC Defensive Player of the Week, they will be going head-to-head on Monday night. So kind of a good matchup there that just worked out for the NFL and the way they scheduled this game specifically. But yeah, Devin Lloyd, he's got 3 picks on the season. That's tied for the most among defenders this year, along with safety Kevin Byard. That's the most interceptions by a linebacker this year. He had 2 last week. I think that was against the 49ers. Jordan Lewis has got a couple of interceptions as well. He has the 3rd most pass deflections this season with 6. Andrew Wingard, another one of their defensive backs, he has an interception. He took back 39 yards. Foysid Olokin who's got a pair of forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, tackle for a loss. Eric Armstead, not as big of a name as a Chris Jones or a Jalen Carter or Dexter Lawrence, but one of the top 10, I would say, defensive tackles in the NFL, in my opinion, and Eric Armstead. They also have Trayvon Walker. This one's going to be interesting to see what happens with him, given that he just had wrist surgery. The expectation is that he will play Monday night against the Chiefs. And then you also have Josh Hines-Allen, who has been very quiet this season to start things off. He's been very good in his career, but been quiet in 2025 so far in the first quarter of the season. So we'll see if this is a game that he tries to get right and maybe takes advantage of some of the woes with Jawan Taylor, or maybe tries to take advantage of an inexperienced player like Josh Simmons. Certainly would be an opportunity for him to try to get right in this game. Again, I know this has been talked about a lot, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But when you just look across the board on offense, right now, just for right now, you have Xavier Worthy, you have Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown. Those are just your wide receivers alone. Then you have Travis Kelce, who I think is more involved this year. Travis Kelce's yard per catch average, way better this year than it was last year. When you look last year, he was averaging for the whole season 8.5 yards per catch. That's the fewest he's ever had. In fact, Travis Kelce, only one time in his career in a season, he's been below 10 yards per reception, and that was last season. This year, he's got, through 4 games, at least 12 yards a catch on average. So that, I think, is the big difference from this year to last year, is Travis Kelce's involvement with the offense. That is encouraging to see. And even with Xavier Worthy back, they still found a way to get Travis Kelce more involved. Let me just, again, Travis Kelce is turning 36 on Sunday. He's not the tight end he once used to be. I think we have to accept that, and that's okay. Is he still capable of getting 1,000 receiving yards for the Chiefs? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 800 to 900 this year. But I think the most important thing with Kelce to keep in mind is that he's on an offense now that is going to be similar to 2022. Now, Kelce was great in 2022. He was the primary pass catcher that year, and I think that was his second time breaking the single season record for receiving yards by a tight end. And that's the last time we've seen him in an all-pro form. He's still getting involved, though. I think that's the most important thing. And when Rashee Rice comes back, I think Travis Kelce, the odds of him having a 1,000-yard season might dip, but it could also go up in a weird way. And the reason I say that is, okay, you're going to obviously throw the ball to Rice more. I think that's also going to open things up for Worthy and Tyquan. And then you also have Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, who are going to be an important part of your offense. Jalen Royals is going to get involved. Brashard Smith is going to be an important part of the passing game. I think he's going to be very similar to what Jerick McKinnon was back in 2022. The thing to keep in mind here is that with all of those players that defenses have to account for, that might allow Kelce to get more open and get more involved. Look at the Houston Texans game, the playoff game. And that's a really good defense the Chiefs went up against. They were more focused on Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy in that one, but left Travis Kelce wide open in the middle of the field a few times. And I think that was Kelce's best game, statistically speaking, last season alone, was that playoff game. A lot of people felt like, okay, he's not the tight end he once was. The Houston Texans defense certainly did not get that memo because they let Travis Kelce have a big game. So certainly not done playing yet, at least at a good level. And I think that's the most important thing from Kelce. Again, numbers wise, I think people get too caught up in that. I'm guilty of it as well, but that's not the most important thing in this offense, in this receiving room. And I'm including the tight ends and the running backs as well when I say that, when I say receiver room, because Mahomes is going to spread the ball out. That's what he did in this last game. 4 touchdowns to 4 different players. Off the top of my head, who did he throw a touchdown pass to? I think it was Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, and Isaiah Pacheco. Not in that order, but those were the 4 players he threw a touchdown pass to. So You know he's going to get everyone involved. And again, with Pacheco and kind of a slow start he's had to the season, good to see him get into the end zone. And we'll see if here's my thing with the running game. I said this last night, and I'll recap it quickly. I think the Chiefs, the style of offense they're running here, not an issue. Obviously, the passing game certainly stepped up last week, and we'll see if they can do it against a better defense. But I don't think they're giving the running backs a lot of opportunities. Pacheco has 32 carries in the first 4 games. That's not a whole lot. And I think part of it is, see, he's averaging 8 carries a game. You got to give your running back more opportunities than that. This is not, Andy Reid's MO is to go past it. I mean, no, that's not what this is here. 8 carries for Pacheco per game is severely low. And I get it. They're trying to utilize both guys. I think you've got to have an honest conversation here. I know Kareem Hunt was great at one point. That was at one point, 2017 and 2018, before he was cut that year. Kareem Hunt does some good things. Well, what good things can he do? He's great in goal line, short yardage situations. Use him more in that area. And he's also good through the air as well. Isaiah Pacheco, that guy can be good for the long run. Now, again, his longest run of the season is 12 yards. Kareem Hunt's longest run is 11 yards. But give one of them, and I don't care who, preferably Pacheco, give him more carries, and maybe you'll see him finally break through and have a big run. I still think Pacheco's vision needs to improve, and I went over that last night in detail on a couple of plays. But man, I think if they give him more opportunities, then there's a chance we'll see a balance with this offense. It's never a bad thing to have balance. It's great what the Chiefs have with all their receivers, especially in a couple of weeks with Rice coming back, but you'd like to see the run game get going a little bit. And if they do give him more opportunities and they just can't get it going, if same thing for Kareem Hunt, maybe Rashard Smith's your answer. I'm not entirely sure. Through 7 carries, he's averaging less than 3.5 yards a carry. Not great, but again, he's a rookie. He's kind of getting his feet wet at the moment, but you got to try something here. Maybe they trade for a guy like Breece Hall or Devon Achane. I know a lot of people are mentioning Alvin Kamara. Might not be as easy with that veteran contract, but those guys, other guys I mentioned, Achane and Hall, are on rookie deals, so that might be a little easier to try to get them in. I see some of you guys' questions. Drop them below. I'll get to those shortly, and I'll answer your questions as we go on. I know it's not a very busy week for the Chiefs, not a whole lot to go over, so we'll probably have a shorter segment for questions, but still, we'll be here in the meantime. I plan to go no later than 6, but could end a lot sooner. Just depends on how many questions we have. So if you haven't already, get your questions in. I talked about the offense. Let's focus on the defense. The Chiefs have not allowed a running back to run for 100 yards in 30 consecutive games. That includes postseason games. If I had to bet on it, I would bet that Travis Etienne Jr. gets 100 yards on the Chiefs. He's having a really good season. He was really quiet last year, took a huge step back last season. He's back this season. He's 3rd in rushing yards, and he's 20 yards behind Jonathan Taylor, who's the league leader. So I would not be surprised if the Chiefs had some issues in this one. Would not surprise me if Jacksonville utilizes Etienne in this game to try to win at home and pull off an upset. Yeah, I know they've got the better record. I know they're at home, but the Chiefs are the betting favorites in this one. So I think if the Chiefs or the Jaguars want a chance to win, they've got to go run heavy in this one and let Etienne go off on the Chiefs defense. Now, when you look at Kansas City's defense here, specifically with the run defense, Nick Bolton's been very good this year. Drew Tranquill has honestly, and you're not seeing it too much on the stat sheet, but Drew Tranquill having a really good season for Kansas City, and that's really helping out with the run. I think the Chiefs' defensive line this year is better and more consistent than it was last season. That I think is an area where they've certainly improved by a lot. So I like seeing that right now with the defense. I just hope, and again, Chiefs defensive backs, you don't talk about defensive backs doing well against the run, but you're seeing McDuffie and Watson, Shamari Connor, they've been really good against the run. Leo Chenal is getting better and better every year. I'm impressed with just the way he's evolved as a linebacker over the last 2 years, where he's gotten more opportunities. And of course, we know he's been an important part of Kansas City special teams unit as well. Getting a PAT block in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, the game-winning block last year against Denver, which was insane. He's been doing some good things defensively as well. Of course, got his first career interception and looked like a defensive back doing it. Pass rush. I like the way Chris Jones has been playing so far. Again, I know everyone focuses on just the sacks, and sacks are important. Don't get me wrong, but the Chiefs had a lot of pressures last year. The problem was they were always a half second late to where opposing QBs would always find that open receiver. And the Carolina game is a great example of it. I do think Karlaftis is playing better this year as well. The sack numbers, I think, will eventually start getting there. Once you have the coverage down, which is something Kansas City struggled with last year, especially with Jalen Watson out for some time last season, that is going to help the defensive line get those sacks, which could turn into coverage sacks. Because, man, I really like the way Noah Williams is playing. And I think Kansas City's rookies, they've been good this season. Noah Williams specifically, in 41 pass snaps, 40 of them in coverage, he's only allowed 2 catches. I mean, he's been pretty damn good. Leo Chenal's also been really good in pass coverage this year. 2 guys I was not expecting to say that they're playing really well in coverage. I think Noah Williams, and look, I don't know what's going to happen with Trent McDuffie. We know the Chiefs are already paying a lot of money to guys, making them the highest paid center, guard, tight end. Well, Travis Kelce is going to be a free agent soon after the season, but Harrison Butker, not a lot of money, but still highest paid kicker in the NFL. Chris Jones, highest paid player at his position. George Karlaftis just got a big deal. I mean, Kansas City's paying a lot of guys. No question about it. Nick Bolton just got a big deal in the offseason. Trent McDuffie, I can't. This is a hard one, man, because I don't want to dismiss what Trent McDuffie's done for this football team, but let's be realistic here. You can't pay everyone. There's a reason why Tyreek Hill was traded away. There's a reason why they let L'Jarius Sneed walk. There's a reason why they traded L'Jarius Sneed. Excuse me. They also traded away Joe Thuney. You just can't keep everyone. That's the reality, whether people want to admit it or not. But if Noah Williams continues to play well, maybe they can just draft a cornerback next season, early in the first or the second rounds, one of those 2 rounds. Maybe they do find a way with Trent McDuffie. I don't know. The Trent McDuffie conversation continues to be an interesting one. Maybe they get something done as the season continues. We've seen that in the past. I feel like contract extensions are extremely rare during the. I mean, not that they were common before, but they're less common now, if that makes sense. So probably not going to happen anytime during the season. And it makes sense, especially with injuries and whatnot. You don't want to give someone a contract and they get hurt the next game. That certainly would put you in a bind and not one you want to be in. So I don't know what happens with Trent McDuffie. I hope he stays. I hope the Chiefs find a way, but it's just really hard to pay everyone if we're being completely honest here. So, but I do like the way Noah Williams is playing. That has been a big boost, especially with Christian Fulton. I know he's been practicing this week. He's the only player that's been limited so far in practice this week. But with what you were hoping to get from Christian Fulton, I think you're getting that from Noah Williams right now. So it makes the Christian Fulton limited availability not as bad for Kansas City's defense. So I'm glad to see that. And then let's go over special teams real quickly before we get into your guys' questions here. Everyone's talking about Harrison Butker, and which is understandable and rightfully so. He hasn't played as well as he should this season. I've gone over the specifics from his misses this year, the kicks he's missed, including the PATs. The PAT against the Chargers, it's not one you can really afford to miss, especially in a close divisional game. The PAT from long distance, okay, it's a 48-yarder. You still expect Butker to make that. As far as field goal misses, I don't think he's missed like a short range field goal. I don't think he has. Any of the kicks he's missed have been from at least 40 yards out. Yeah, he's 1 of 2 from 40 to 49, and he's 3 of 5 from 50 plus. Now, here's the thing. We keep hearing announcers obsess about kickers and how they're all making field goals from long range comfortably. And you're seeing a lot of that now. I've said this before, 53, 55-yard field goals, those were hardly guaranteed in the past. Now kickers make them with ease. And you're seeing Butker kind of struggle with that range. Now, why do I trust him personally? Because he's come through many, many times, especially in the postseason, with massive kicks. And I've said this before, and correct me if I'm wrong, but no one's corrected me on this. I don't think Butker's ever missed a field goal in the fourth quarter of a game. And I don't think he's ever missed, obviously, in the fourth quarter when needing to win or tie a game. So he's come through for you when you needed him the most, including 2 massive kicks in the Super Bowl. I know they're both short-range field goals, the one to win in Super Bowl 57 and the one to tie in Super Bowl 58. But the amount of pressure on you in that moment, I don't care if it's what the old PAT used to be, which was from the 2-yard line, you would snap the ball that distance. That's not easy. And Butker's made it look easy over the years. The 13-second game, he doesn't tie that. That game does not have the epic ending that we ended up seeing. Maybe not from Buffalo's standpoint, but you get the idea. So I trust Butker. I know those 5 misses are on a lot of people's minds through the first 4 games. I still trust that he comes through. This is his funk that he's in right now. Patrick Mahomes has been through a funk. Do we not remember the start of the 2021 season and the start of last season? Patrick Mahomes has got off to a slow start those 2 seasons, statistically speaking. He led the league in interceptions in the first couple of weeks through those 2 seasons I'm referring to. So everyone will have their little funk that they're going through. And I think that's what Butker is going through right now. Now, if this continues for 2 or 3 more weeks, then I'll start to be concerned to the point where I think this would be an issue. But for right now, I don't think it's an issue. Is it a concern? Yes, it's a concern. But I'm not calling it an issue yet. Didn't see the TV broadcast breakdown this week. Can you repost? I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Why is Elijah Mitchell on the roster if he isn't going to play? That's a good question. They always have guys who are inactive. I thought Mitchell had some good moments in training camp, and I mentioned this back in training camp, but a lot of people ignored it. I was apparently a hater when I said this. The running game had really struggled in training camp, so I'm not super surprised with the progress of the running game so far this season. I still stand by the fact that you got to give Pacheco more opportunities than 8 carries a game. Now, to maybe refute my own comment just now, I get what the offense is trying to do. They want to utilize that entire wide receiver room with Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Tyquan Thornton, who's been a nice surprise this season, and Worthy just got back. You're getting Rice in a couple of weeks. That's what we were talking about all last year, minus Tyquan Thornton. So I guess even if Elijah Mitchell was available, I still think a lot of the focus would be heavily on the wide receivers. Is it more important, Aaron's asking from YouTube, this week to score, or hold the ball and keep Lawrence off the field? You know, you've seen this in a lot of NFL games. I don't think there's a way to statistically track this thing. I'll give you an example. I remember in 2014 when the Chiefs were visiting the Broncos. This was week 2. So if you have NFL Plus, go and watch the end of the second half, the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter. So Kansas City ended the second quarter, the first half essentially, with possession. And I think they had a somewhat of a long drive. I don't remember. Then you have halftime, which is 11 to 12 minutes. Then the Chiefs, to start off the second quarter, they had a 10-minute drive. Unfortunately, at the end of the 10-minute drive, Cairo Santos, I think he doinked a field goal or maybe just he didn't make it. He didn't make it. And it was a 19-play drive. And I remember CBS put a graphic on the screen saying that Peyton Manning in real time has not seen the playing field for 40 some odd minutes. And Peyton Manning was kind of not really himself during the second half because he essentially was kind of rusty at that point. I'm not a big baseball guy, but I will say this. If it's the sixth or the seventh inning and your starting pitcher is having a great game, maybe one or no hits allowed, having that kind of a performance, if the offense in the sixth or seventh inning, if they have a really big inning where they go through the entire lineup at least one time, that does leave your pitcher in the dugout for a long, long time. And that can impact him when he comes back to the mound to try to continue for the waning moments of the game in the final couple innings. So I think that's something to be aware of here. I get what you're saying, Aaron. That's a really good question. Teams have tried to do that against Patrick Mahomes, and it doesn't work often because Kansas City's run defense has been very good. Here's the thing I will say. If you ever have an opportunity to score, I think you've got to score. Now, if the game is tied and there's 5 minutes left and you just got the ball back, then yeah, I think you have to play the clock in that situation. I've always been in favor of scoring whenever you have a chance, but you also have to know when to do it. Because listen, if the defense intentionally lets a team score just so they can get the ball back, yeah, I mean, do you take it or do you continue to let time go? And if you decide to not take advantage of an open lane to score a touchdown, yeah, maybe you just continue running it out, but you got to be careful not to fumble. Otherwise, that could come back to haunt you. Kind of like with Jerick McKinnon in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, where he slid right at the 1 or the 2 yard line just to because you did not want to give Philadelphia a lot of time. So they started kneeling after that first down there when Philadelphia was trying to let McKinnon score, and they got the field goal. They got all of that set down, and that only gave Philly 8 seconds left to work with, which is really nothing in that situation there. I think it depends on the time to answer your question, but hey, and listen, let me just say this about Trevor Lawrence. I think he's a good quarterback. Do I think he's worth the contract he's getting? No, but here's the other thing to keep in mind. He's not this guy that they advertise him to be. Now, is part of it because of the amount of coaches he's had to play for? Yeah, that's a huge part of it. But I don't think this is someone you have to really focus on to keep him on the sidelines. I don't think. The big concern to me is Travis Etienne Jr., 100%. NFL better watch out. We never had our offense together on the field during the season. Yeah, that's a good point, Saucy, on YouTube. I keep saying this wide receiver trio that has been promoted for more than a year. We've been talking about it for more than a year. We're going to finally get in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Just stay healthy. Come on. A few more weeks. Can't wait till Rice comes up. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. I feel terrible for the Raiders. Normally, I wouldn't feel bad for the Raiders, but dude, the Raiders are going to get destroyed. Bet the over on everything Mahomes. Like, he is going to use Rice, Worthy, Hollywood, Thornton, Juju, Royals, Kelsey, Gray. And I know some of these guys, like Jalen Royals has played 2 games. Well, technically he didn't play much in the first game. He didn't even play a snap at all. But you know they're eventually going to use him. You know Noah Gray is eventually going to get used more. Dude, if you're the Raiders defensive coordinator, how do you even prepare for that game? That is not going to be fun for the Raiders defensive coordinator or any of those Raiders players on defense. What does their offense look like? Let me because I think they're bottom 5 in points scored this season. Oh, they were. Okay, they're not bottom 5, but they're pretty damn close to it. Tennessee has the fewest points scored with 51. The Raiders are at 77. Yeah, that's not great. Their point differential is not as bad as I thought. It's minus 22. Right next to the Giants at minus 28 and the Panthers at minus 20. Who did the Raiders play last week? Because I know they went like a game and a half where. Oh yeah, that's right. They did put. They were in a close game with with Chicago. Oh, and they also scored 24 points against Washington, but a lot of those were garbage time touchdowns. Yeah, they put up 13 points against New England in week 1. Or no, 20 points. Sorry, they won that game. But then they only put up 9 against the Chargers and against Washington, which was a blowout, 41-24. And again, the 24 is very misleading because not that it was close when you look at that score, but they got some garbage time scores in the second half there. So, yeah, they're not a very good football team when it comes to scoring. So that game's going to be fun to watch in 3 weeks. Yeah, I mean, they're going to get cooked by the Chiefs. That's going to be fun to watch. Jags haven't played anyone. Everyone talking about their takeaways is crazy. Yeah, but again, you can only play who's on your schedule. You can't ever apologize for winning in the NFL. I know this has been brought up for the Chiefs sometimes. Oh, well, the people say that the Chiefs haven't been in a competitive division. Okay, but they're still winning the AFC championship every year. It feels like. Or at the very least, they're getting that far. Listen, let me put it to you this way. Have the Jaguars played anyone significant? No. But even then, would you have expected them to do this well? I would not have. Let's talk about the Colts, because they've been the biggest surprise this season to me. Even though the Colts have not played a lot of good teams so far this year, did you pick the Colts to start off 3-0? And for Daniel Jones to be this good this early, I would have said, hell no. We all knew what the schedule was. The schedule was not a shock all of a sudden. But you can't ever apologize for winning in the NFL. I'll never take credit away from a team because they did well against a bad team. You can't do that. Kansas City just had a great game against a team. I guess the Ravens. I mean, yeah, they're a bad team. Let's be honest. They're a bad team. Yeah, part of it is because a big part of it is they're decimated with injuries, but that's the way it works sometimes. Which is why I've said I like to see the Chiefs do it against a better defense. And I do think Jacksonville has a better defense than the Ravens right now. That's for sure. Pacheco either isn't hitting holes well or the offensive line isn't opening them up. I think the offensive line could play a little better, but his vision has also been a problem as well. And I think part of it is the lack of touches they're giving him too. Doreen says Andy doesn't run the ball much. Correct, but it's been severely lower this year. And again, is it because they want to utilize the receivers they have, especially now that Rice is back? Not Rice, Worthy's back. Soon, Rice will be back. I don't know. Chiefs game specially dedicated to its primetime game on my birthday. Well, happy birthday to you, Derek. Enjoy it. That'll be a fun Monday night. Too many miles on Kamara? I say very possibly yes. Too many miles left or too many miles already used on Kamara? I think Kamara is still a good running back. I just feel like with his contract, it's not as easy to do. Andy said in his press conference that they may have a weather game. Yeah, that is possible. And I think I saw it was Chief Concerns that was talking about the last time the Chiefs played in the rain on Monday night. Was on Monday night against the Saints. Eric says, I got to watch Hull with Wichita Northwest. Feast my team in high school. I assume you're talking about Breece Hall? Dude, I've always been a big fan of Breece Hall. I think he's just in a really bad situation. Yeah, Karloftis is doing well. I agree, Janelle. If we can get up 2 scores, it will take Jacksonville out of the run game. That's a really good point. And I think that's what you saw last week when the Chiefs had a big lead. What do? They did not utilize that monster named Derrick Henry. How do you nullify the best running back in the NFL? Well, go up 2 scores, and that will take care of it right there. You have to cut someone else to make room for McDuffie. Listen, they're going to more than likely release Jawan Taylor. I think Mike Dana will be a cap casualty as well. They got to figure out what to do with the contracts of Patrick Mahomes and Chris Jones for next year, and I don't have him in front of me. I'll look him up real quickly. But for 2026, it's not very good. In fact, let's pull that up. The Chiefs are $41.7 million over the cap. That's a lot of money. Now, who could they cut? Where's the calculator here for you to play with? Okay, so if you cut Jawan Taylor, that puts you at $14 million over the cap. That's a massive change there. You go from $41 million. Well, hold on. Do it for 2026, not now. So apologies, $21 million. I was still on the 2025 calculator. Still a lot. And that only impacts 2026, which is good. I would have to think Mike Dana's another cut. That puts you from 21 million to 12 million. So I'm telling you this right now. I've been saying it for a while, but for those of you watching right now, as we talk about the McDuffie contract here and how the Chiefs are going to try to even make that work. But for now, they just got to try to find a way to get under the cap. That's the difficult part here. Cutting Jawan Taylor and Mike Dana will put you from 41 million to 12 million over the cap. Still got some room to work with. And again, Kelsey's going to be a free agent. Hollywood Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, some guys on your offense. Brian Cook, who's quietly having a really good season on defense. He's also going to be a free agent as well. Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell. Those guys are going to be free agents as well. Leo Chenal. Just like this past offseason, the Chiefs are going to have a lot of guys available in free agency. This is what happens when you draft really, really well for Kansas City and bring in, good free agents to help your team out. Yeah, there's a lot to figure out. I would imagine Christian Fulton could be a cut, especially with his injury concerns early on. I would save the Chiefs a little bit more room. Yeah, I don't know. What if you cut FAU? He's on a rookie deal. That's not going to help you too much. Yeah, that's for Veach to figure out, man. But certainly the Chiefs have some things to figure out. Because keep this in mind. Rashee Rice, he's in his 3rd year right now. I know he hasn't been playing this year, but he will soon. Next year is going to be Rice's 4th and final season under his rookie deal. So after 2026, I would assume they want to find a way to lock up Rice long-term to give Patrick Mahomes another a guy to stick around for a long time. And then after that is Xavier Worthy. I know I'm going way down the road here, but my point is, as we continue to get attached to these wide receivers with how well they're doing, and I trust that Rice will be back in his form from last year, it's not going to be easy keeping everyone. That's for sure. That's what happens when you draft so well. Yeah, it's going to be. Listen, I've said this many times. I think Brett Veach is the best general manager in the NFL. The fact that he always has to figure out how to work around the salary cap, it's not easy. It is not easy at all. So they've got to find a way to work on it. David Johnson on Instagram asks, how much confidence do you have that Rice will play as similar as he did last year? Really confident. You saw it a little bit in the preseason. More importantly, in training camp, and I've said this before, I think Rice was the best player the Chiefs had in training camp this year. Um, Rice, and again, I know it's practice, but Rice looked like the way he was playing before his injury in 2024. So hopefully he can play back in that same manner that he played before his injury, and I trust he will because, man, he was used a lot in training camp. How does Jacksonville's injury report look? I know it's kind of a similar size to Kansas City's, not as bad as Baltimore's, that is for sure, but not as bad as Baltimore, that's for sure. Matthew's asking, I'm sure Adam Rank picks against the Chiefs every week. Yeah, I've noticed that. The idiot below average wash kicker gone yet? Ben, what are you talking about? Ben, I know you're trolling. There's no way you believe that. No way. Like, has he gotten off to a bad start this season? If we're just being upfront and honest, yes. But man, he's made some massive kicks for the Chiefs. Like, come on. When does Rice return? Week 7, 2 more games. Charlene says, I hope the Chiefs offensive line is ready. That Jaguars defense to get the double. Yeah, that is going to be important here. And I will say this, because on third down, Jacksonville does not do a good job in that area. They're the 4th worst third down defense. So that's an opportunity for Kansas City to be better on third down. That would be important to have. Doesn't Geno lead the league in picks? Last I checked, I thought it was Jake Browning, who hasn't even played 4 full games, which is insane to even say. Yeah, you're right. It is Geno Smith with 7. That's awesome. So much for paying that guy. Then it's Joe Flacco, who just got benched, and Jake Browning, who's only played 3 games, 2.5 games, really. Jake Browning's played 2.5 games and has 5 picks. Dude, I remember Bengals fans were so confident that he was going to take the team to the playoffs a couple of years ago, and they came close. But nope, Kansas City eliminated them. That was awesome. Eliminated them from playoff contention. Yeah, I did not realize Geno was leading the league in picks. I thought it was still Browning, so no, good call on that one, Robert. Caden says Chiefs by 13. I think it's going to be a close game on Monday night. I told my younger brother, who is a 49ers fan, Breece Hall will either be a Chief or a 49er if he does indeed get traded or leaves in free agency in the future. Yeah, that'd be... With Christian McCaffrey, I would imagine he's kind of seeing the end of his career. I would imagine that's something to be aware of. Do I think Kelce retires after the season? I thought that after Super Bowl 57 and 58, I thought that was a perfect way for him to ride up into the sunset, but no. This year, when he turns 36 in 2 days, and that's what it'll be at the end of the season, I don't know. He keeps saying he can keep going, and I trust he can. I think he's very comfortable as, he continues to get older. I think he's comfortable in this style of offense. Let's say Kelce comes back next year. What's the benefit for Kelce in terms of his physicality and how much more he can take of this game? Well, if you have Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice available in week 1, which would be massive, and I would love to see Tyquan Thornton brought back, I think that would put Kelce in a very comfortable spot. And maybe they draft a running back in the first round or get a key running back in free agency to bring in to maybe help create more of a balance. I think that would certainly benefit Kelce from coming back. Didn't Jawaan Taylor just get a contract about a year ago? No, that was before 2023. He got a new contract for 2023. It was a 4-year deal. And there's 1 year left after this year, but it's easier for the Chiefs to get out of. Rice really have not had a lot of playing time. Hopefully he will do very well. Yeah, he has not played football for exactly a year, right? Wasn't it week 4 last year where he got that injury? Yeah, it's been that long. So he is going to be hungry against the Raiders. That's why I'm predicting, dude, he will go off. Mahomes is going to have all the fun in the world with that offense in week 7. Hopefully everyone stays healthy. I keep saying that. Spags is the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. I mean, listen, he's won 4 Super Bowls. I think his best coaching performance was for sure the Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 40 against the Patriots. And the job he's done in Kansas City over the last few years, just fantastic, especially when the offense took a really big step back in 2023 with the drops and everything. And the offensive line not being that good that year, especially the tackles. Dude, Spags has just been a beast of a defensive coordinator. Dick LeBeau, Romeo Crennel, 2 great defensive coordinators, but I don't think you're going to find a coordinator better than Spags in NFL history. The things that this guy has done to help the Chiefs, and I know Sam McDowell brought this up. Dude, look at Lamar Jackson's numbers when he goes up against Spags. Lamar Jackson, I know a lot of people have their opinions about Lamar Jackson. That guy's a 2-time MVP. That's not some pushover quarterback who just got lucky. I know he doesn't play well in the playoffs, but he's a 2-time MVP. And Spags has been in his head every single time. The only time he's ever had a really good game against Spags was that 2021 game where Clyde Edwards-Helaire fumbled. Now, I'm not pinning that solely on Clyde Edwards-Helaire because the Chiefs defense could have done a lot of things differently in that game to prevent from that situation from happening. But he's only had one good game against Spags. I mean, Spags will always find a way to draw up plays to rattle quarterbacks. That's what I love about this guy, man. He's always going to find a way. I was a little worried in week 1. I thought, is this a sign of things to come for the defense this season, or was it just one bad game that happened to be in week 1? I think it's the latter right there. Do we finally sound the holy crap siren if Butker misses something this week? I don't think I have what do I have here? I have that. I think that would be what a lot of people would play. Yeah, I don't know if here's what you're going to be hearing a lot of. That's what you're going to be hearing a lot of if Butker misses. I don't have a siren. I actually appreciate the idea there, Aaron. I might need to figure a way to integrate that into our little system here. Chiefs by 7. Farzine is a sports encyclopedia. No, I don't want to go that far, but I appreciate the compliment, Holly. Crazy how hate from other teams' fans can allow people to disregard what Veach has done, but Roseman gets all the talk about best GM. Listen, Roseman's a fantastic executive, but I just don't get that. Like, Veach traded away Tyreek Hill. He traded away L'Jarius Sneed. And I know Sneed's, when available, he's amazing. But he's missed a lot of games. So that makes it an even better move for Kansas City that they traded him. Joe Thuney, dude, I wish the Chiefs found a way to keep Joe Thuney. But to go back to the Tyreek Hill, how many teams have traded a player of Tyreek Hill's caliber, an elite wide receiver like Tyreek Hill, and found ways to continue to win? Like, who in NFL history has done that? When teams trade a player like Tyreek Hill, it's because they are not a contending team. They're sellers. That's not what Kansas City was not selling at that point. They just did not have the financial room for him because they're so damn good at drafting and signing good free agents. That's been the issue. So my whole thing with the Veach and the case for him being the best GM, and I know, I don't like what they did with Pennell. I thought that was a bad move. And then there was one other move that did not look good for the Chiefs in the early goings of the season. I can't remember what it was. Does he get it right? No, of course not. Not all the time. Not all the time. But more times than not, he finds a way. He's been aggressive mid-season many times. DeAndre Hopkins last year, Mike Pennell, Steve Wisniewski to help them, Terrell Suggs to make that push for Super Bowl 54. Like, he's been aggressive mid-season in the past. And I would trust he would maybe do something for a running back this season. We'll see. Bob says we owe the Jags an ass whooping when they came in here and beat us. When did that happen? Hold on. Chiefs, Jaguars history. When was the last time the Chiefs lost to the Jaguars? It's like, I don't think Trevor Lawrence has ever beat Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, the Chiefs have not lost to the Jaguars since 2009. Let me see if I can recall all these games. Or I'm sorry. Yeah, 2009 was the last time the Jags beat the Chiefs. I don't recall that 09 game. I don't recall a lot of things about 09. The 2010 game I don't remember. 2013 game. The 2013 game was the first one of the Andy Reid era. 2016, the Chiefs won 19-14. But how did the Chiefs get 19? Well, let me look up the box score for this one. Albert Wilson scored from Nick Foles. Oh, this was when Patrick Mahomes, or not Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith was injured. Now I remember this game. Yeah, Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles started that game. 2018, 30-14. Oh, I remember the 2016 game now. That's when Travis Kelce was pissed off because the Jaguars were getting away with horse collars, all these things, and Kelce got ejected for throwing a towel at the ref. That's got to be one of the funniest ejections I've ever seen. I remember that game now. 2018, October of 2018, Chiefs scored 30 points. That was a regular for them. 2019, the Chiefs beat the Jags 40-26. Oh, that was when Tyreek Hill got injured. Okay, see that now that's coming back to me. That's when Watkins had 3 touchdowns. Yeah. 2022, I think that's the first Mahomes versus Trevor Lawrence game. Chiefs won 27-17. 2023 was the playoff game. And 2023 was the weird 17-9 game. They were coming off the week 1 loss to Detroit. So yeah, those are some of the more memorable games. And yeah, the Chiefs have won how many games in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. Cool. Good to know. Yeah, it's been since 09. Well, let me look up the box score from the 09 game. Now I'm really curious. What happened in that one? Suck up made a field goal. Rashad Jennings. Haven't heard that name. Mike Sims Walker. Remember that name? I remember being obsessed with The Sims a while back, and I thought of The Sims whenever I heard Sims Walker's name. Josh Scobie. That was their kicker. Maurice Jones. MJD, who's now with NFL. I remember this game now from 2009. Okay, so Chris Chambers scored 2 touchdowns in this one here. And they went for 2. Because I remember this. The Chiefs got an onside kick back. And then they went for another onside kick and they couldn't. So now I remember this game because it was 24-6. And the Chiefs rallied late in the fourth quarter. Chris Chambers got a big touchdown. They went for the onside kick, got it back, quickly went down the field and got a 2-point conversion. Yeah, now I remember that game. I remember that game now. Is Clyde Edwards with the Chiefs? Yes, he is. You see Spags being the next head coach of the Chiefs. I think he and Andy Reid are almost the same age. Andy Reid is 67. Spags is 65, so a couple of years younger. I know Andy Reid signed that 5-year deal last year, so who knows if he'll coach all the way through it, but I would not be opposed. I would not be opposed to that at all. Yeah, that Giants Patriots Super Bowl, Eric. Yeah, that was awesome. Especially with the way just how overconfident the Patriots were on 4th and 15, overthrowing Randy Moss. Like, what? And then the week of the game, Brady was mad about the score prediction that I think it was Plaxico Burress. He said, like, I don't remember what score prediction he gave, but it ended up being very, very close to what ended up being the final score of that game. And then, of course, the David Tyree catch. Like, holy shit. Like, as soon as David Tyree caught that, I was like, yeah, they're winning this game. 100% winning this game. If Butker ever goes, do not end up with Jake Moody. Yeah, let's not do that. My brother's happy he's off the 49ers. Yeah, I can imagine why. When Tyreek was traded, I thought it was a mistake. I was wrong. Yeah, listen, you got to understand, like, the finance. Like, if the Chiefs kept Tyreek Hill and gave him the money he wanted, I don't know if the Chiefs would have gotten to keep Chris Jones the following year or after that, the year after. That's the thing about the Chiefs is they've had to make difficult decisions, and no one wanted to see Tyreek leave. But financially, it had to be done. You remember when Gabbert and Henny played bad? Yeah. Yeah, I was never big on Blaine Gabbert coming out of Mizzou. So I was really surprised with how much hype he got and was a top 10 pick. Unfortunately, he just has turned into an NFL journeyman. Where is Blaine Gabbert today? Does anyone know? How many teams has he played for? Blaine Gabbert is an American former professional quarterback, according to his Wikipedia. Did he retire? I missed that. If it just shows he became an unrestricted free agent after the Chiefs did not re-sign him. Yeah, he was drafted in 2011. He's 35 years old, so it makes sense, I guess. But I never recall. I don't recall him ever retiring. He played for the Jags, the 49ers, the Cardinals, the Titans, the Bucks, and the Chiefs. Who was Kansas City's backup last year? Oh, that's right, Carson Wentz. Yeah, Carson Wentz was the backup last year. Now he's with the Vikings. When are the offense struggles? We turn Mahomes into Alex Smith. We have to let Patrick be Patrick. Yeah. I'll answer a couple more here. I know we're going a little over on time here. Jason says, let's go for Moore, Oklahoma. Shout out to Moore, Oklahoma. No, Bob. It's been a while since the Jaguars have beat the Chiefs. Matthew is singing Taylor Swift lyrics in the chat. Yeah, Mizzou is doing pretty well. What is Mizzou ranked? Because after they beat KU, they got on the board. They're 19th. Okay. Yeah. Dude, that running back. Ahmad Hardy, that's what it is. Yeah. Dude, he is good. He's really good. Where does he rank among college football running backs in yards? Because he's got 730 yards in how many games? Dude, he's played 5 games. He's had 100 yards rushing and at least a touchdown every single game. Now, they don't ever throw the ball to him. But, dude, 730 yards? Yeah, he's leading the nation in yards. Yeah, the Chiefs are not getting him. There's no way they're getting him. I wish, but I don't think that's happening. Chiefs would have been better off with a running back playing QB last year. Wentz was awful, and that is continuing with the Vikings. Yeah, he had a solid game against the Bengals, but then again, I guess everyone's doing well against the Bengals. He's just a sophomore. So what's the rule? You have to. What's the age? Because I don't know that stuff. What's the requirement? You guys probably know that better than I do. What was your prediction on the Chiefs' record after 5 games? I had them 5-0. I had their first loss. Oh no, wait. I can't remember. Did I have them losing to the Eagles? I think I did. I can't recall. I had them losing to the Lions. I know that. And the Lions, that's going to be a tough game. 3 years from high school. Okay, that's the rule. Okay, so what are we hoping that he has like a bad season next year so the Chiefs could get him? I'm joking, but yeah, he's not coming to Kansas City. No way. Unless the Chiefs trade. And realistically, I don't know what they would trade to move up to get a guy like him because he's gonna be good in the NFL, that's for sure. All right. I said they'd lose to the Eagles. Okay, see, you remember my predictions better than I do. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I said that. I think the question is before the season, though. Anyway, yeah, as far as during the season, the only loss I predicted was the Eagles game during the season. That is, a lot of you guys were mad at me for that. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, we've got to be upfront and honest here. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. That is all for the questions. Appreciate you guys. This was kind of a quiet week for the Chiefs. Sometimes I get nervous doing these Red Friday live chats because it's Friday. Everyone's got shit to do, better than watching a live stream. And I'm thinking, oh, we're gonna have a really short live chat here. This is not going to be long at all, especially this week because there has not been a lot of Chiefs news. And you guys always show up. I appreciate you guys. Air horns to you guys. Hell yeah. So we will leave it on that note there. Reminder, on Monday, we will do a pregame live chat at 3 p.m. Central Time. So join me for that. And then at halftime, we'll do our 10-minute halftime live stream. And then after the game, we'll do the Chiefs Zone podcast. We'll recap the game between the Chiefs and the Jaguars, hopefully recapping a win. And that'll put KC above 500 for the first time this season. I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of the Red Friday Q&A live chat. I will talk to you all on game day. Have a good weekend.